What's up, guys? How's it going? I'm here today just to give my brief thoughts and opinions regarding Bayonetta 2 on the Nintendo Switch. I just wanted to cover a couple of topics, those being gameplay, graphic and music, story, and then my final overall grade for the game itself. Before I start, I just want to say that if you like what I'm posting, please subscribe, like, comment, and just any kind of support you give me, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, one quick note, I do not yet have a capture card, so unfortunately there won't be no gameplay footage yet, but hopefully I will have one by the time I do my next review or next video I post, so please bear with me. So, first I want to start off with my impression of the game going in. I never owned a Wii U, so I never really had the chance to play the Bayonetta series before. So, when I found out that it was being ported to the Switch, I jumped right on it. I played through the first game, and honestly, I wasn't a big fan of it as a whole. The combat was smooth but extremely repetitive for me. The levels were very similar, and I felt like I was constantly playing the same level over and over again. The overall feel and visual style was very dark and depressing, and I understand that sort of goes with the whole Bayonetta being a witch and the battle versus good and evil thing, but it just didn't appeal to me, really. The story also never really clicked with me. I never really was pulled into anything that was going on. None of the characters really stood out to me. Bayonetta herself really wasn't that great of a protagonist, and just everything just didn't work. The one good thing that I really did like about the first game was the bosses. Each one felt extremely unique and very interesting to go up against, and I really didn't feel like I was fighting the same boss. Everything felt different to me, and I did like that. So going into this game, I was pretty skeptical about it. So the story of Bayonetta takes place a couple months after the events of the first one. Bayonetta teams up with John, a fellow witch, to take on a group of angels who attack them in Manhattan, and things kind of go wrong, and John's soul unfortunately ends up being claimed into the depths of Inferno, which is basically hell. The demons, they pretty much claim her soul as a witch, and she's out of commission for a little bit. And while this is happening, a Lumen Sage, which is a group of religious wizards that are fighting against Bayonetta and the witches, he appears in the present day and is seeking revenge. I won't spoil too much about the story, but it basically follows Bayonetta as she travels to a sacred mountain to reclaim John's soul and find a little bit more about the truth of her past and who she really is and what happened all those years ago. Along the way, she meets some pretty interesting characters that help her along her way. Overall, I thought the story was a huge step up from the first one. I was extremely invested in what was happening. Bayonetta was developed much better as a character, and she wasn't so one-dimensional like she felt in the first game. The supporting characters were all very interesting as well and added to what was happening. I thought the main villain was a huge improvement from the first one, and all the side characters, even the side sub-villain was very good. All in all, the story was a huge plus for me. So next is the gameplay. The gameplay of Bayonetta 2 is essentially the same thing as it was in the first. It's an action-style game that features a combination of gunplay and melee attacks. You control Bayonetta again, and she goes up against the same angels from the original, but also features new demonic enemies as well, which is nice that they threw that in there to change it up a little bit. Along with your basic attacks, the player can also activate Witch Mode, which allows you to slow down time for a few seconds to get some extra hits on your enemy. Torture attacks are also back from the original. What's new gameplay-wise is the addition of the Umbran Climax, which is activated when your magic gauge is full. You can unleash a devastating attack that severely damages any enemy or even a boss that you're facing. The repetitive nature of the original has been changed in the sequel. You weren't just simply going from point A to point B and defeating foes along the way. There's a combination of quick time events and puzzles along the way to help you gain some new abilities, level up your HP, and level up your magic gauge as well. The levels also felt varied and different from each other. You fight on land, sea, and even the air at some points. The bosses are even better in this one than they were in the original. Each one really never felt too difficult, but still challenging at the same time. Each one was amazing to go up against, and they were really visually stunning and appealing. As a whole, the gameplay was a huge improvement from the first overall. So next up, we have graphics and music. The overall look of the game is very appealing. Gone was the dark, depressing look and feel of the original, Most of the levels were bright and full of vivid imagery. Every fight felt like a spectacle, and it was a blast to experience. The different levels all felt unique to each other. I didn't feel like I was just playing the same level over and over again like I did in the first game. The sections when you were flying through the air fighting against a boss were stunning and amazing to look at. It's more or less a port of the Wii U version, but that's not really a bad thing. The game looked great back then, and it still holds up very well today. I never had any issues with frame rates or anything dropping, and no glitches. The music is also extremely well done. Every boss theme was dramatic and added to the intensity of the moment. Even the music when you're just fighting normal enemies was great as well. The music just felt more alive than it did in the original. And something I found really interesting was Bayonetta 2 actually features 183 tracks. So if you ever get the chance to listen to any of them, I do highly recommend them. So when it comes to my final score of the game, I really enjoyed this. When you add everything together, Bayonetta 2 is a huge improvement from the first game. It fixes every shortcoming that the original suffered from. Gameplay is varied and is just as fun as it has always been. The game looks and sounds amazing, and the bosses are just as exciting as they've ever been. The story, while nothing revolutionary, is still enjoyable and has its great moments throughout. There is also tons of content to experience after you beat the game, adding to its replayability. Overall, I give this game a solid 8 out of 10. If you have a Switch, I highly recommend picking this game up and giving it a shot. It comes bundled with a copy of the original game, so you basically get 2 games for the price of 1, and you can never beat that. Also, I just want to thank you guys for tuning into my first review. I hope to have more reviews and gameplays coming to my channel very soon. If you like what I'm doing, please don't forget to subscribe and also like and comment below. I appreciate any support from you guys as I start out my YouTube career, so anything you do is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram as well, which I'll post on the screen, and have a great day, guys.